High above the North Sea, two monuments watch over the waves, the broken arches of Whitby Abbey and the steadfast form of St. Mary's Church. Between them lies a graveyard perched on the edge of a crumbling cliff, where over the years the bones of the long dead have revealed themselves. For over 1,000 years, this headland has been sacred ground, and some say haunted ground. And these very real Gothic buildings were also the inspiration for one of fiction's greatest villains, the Lord of Darkness himself, L'Homme de la Nuit, Dracula. Long before the Gothic ruins we see today, there once stood a monastery founded around the year 657 AD by King Oswy of Northumbria. Here the Abbess Hild, or Saint Hilda, ruled over monks and nuns alike, guiding Whitby through one of the most important events in English Christianity, the Synod of Whitby in 664, which is what ultimately decided the date of Easter for the entire English Church. Chronicles tell of Saint Hilda's wisdom and her miracles. It's said she turned a plague of snakes to stone, leaving the fossil ammonites that are still found in Whitby's cliffs today. But the perceived holiness of this place wasn't enough to protect Whitby from blood and violence. In 867, the Vikings destroyed the abbey, and for 2 centuries, this headland sat in silence. That was until the Normans arrived. The construction of the abbey you see today, or its ruins, began around 1220, and it truly was a masterpiece of early English Gothic stonework. Its pointed arches and incredible windows, which were once emblazoned with brightly coloured stained glass, were visible for miles out to sea. But in 1539, our old friend Henry VIII ordered the abbey destroyed. The monks were driven out. Its roof was torn down, and its bare skeletal walls were left to the elements. And from that moment on, Whitby's clifftop ruin belonged only to ghosts. And now tens of thousands of tourists. Just beside the abbey stands St. Mary's Church, and this church's story begins around the year 1110. Originally built in the Norman style, its thick stone walls, Romanesque arches, and sturdy tower were built to endure centuries of battering by the North Sea winds. And while on the outside this may look like any ordinary church, inside it's far from ordinary. Galleries and creaking stairways twist all around the interior and climb up towards the rafters. Over the decades and centuries, it's had many adaptations. The nave and choir parts are Norman. The tower and transepts date from the 12th and 13th centuries. In 1818, the north wall was completely replaced with columns to squeeze even more people in. And by the time it reached the 18th century, this church could seat over 2,000 people. Almost a full town's worth of people could gather under the flickering candlelight. And for people to access some of those galleries, some of the staircases are actually external to the church. One of its most distinctive features is the huge, towering pulpit. This 3-deck pulpit was installed in 1778 and has, like everything else in the church, been altered over time. And the pews inside date back to the 18th century, some being inscribed "For strangers only." For centuries, this churchyard was Whitby's resting place. Generations of sailors, fishermen and townsfolk have been buried here, and most still remain. That is, apart from those whose bones have revealed themselves over time. The cliffs beneath St. Mary's Church are soft and treacherous. In 2012, after heavy rain, there was a small landslide, and human bones actually tumbled from the graveyard down onto the street and gardens below. Locals were even reported to say it was as if the dead themselves were trying to escape the cliff. St. Mary's itself, built on solid rock, is safe for now, but many of the graves are still in danger of inching closer and closer to the sea. Among these stones, 2 bear a chilling emblem: a carved skull and crossbones. Over the years, there have been whispers of these marking the graves of pirates. Others believe members of some secret society, but historians have called them memento mori, or simply reminders of mortality. Whatever their meaning, they've long drawn those seeking Whitby's darker stories, and even sparked rumours that Dracula himself may lie beneath them. One legend tells of a black coach that climbs these 199 steps on moonless nights, pulled by horses with eyes like embers. The hearse halts at the church door. The shadowy figures of mourners appear, and in that shadow circle a fresh grave 3 times, and then the coach plunges over the cliff into darkness. Some say it's the devil's carriage, collecting souls buried too close to the sea. In a quiet corner lies a tomb locals like to call Humpty Dumpty. Now, this isn't the famous Eggman from the nursery rhyme, but a clergyman who unfortunately had that nickname, which is now immortalised in stone. And close by, the Hunt Rod's memorial carries a cryptic inscription. Odd punctuation, strange spacing. There are some that believe it hides a coded message, perhaps some secret from centuries past that is now long forgotten. Okay, so it might not be so cryptic. What it actually says is, "Here lies the bodies of Francis Huntrodds and Mary, his wife, who were both born on the same day of the week, month and year, viz. September 19th, 1600, married on the day of their birth, and after having had 12 children born to them, died aged 80 years on the same day of the year they were born, September 19th, 1680, the one not above 5 hours before the other. Husband and wife that did 12 children bear died the same day, alike both aged were about 80 years. They lived, 5 hours did part, even on the marriage day. Each tender heart so fit a match surely could never be. Both in their lives and in their deaths agree." Which, yes, was written a long time ago, and yes, maybe could have been a little clearer, but basically just means that they were both born on the same day, the 19th of September 1600. They married each other on their shared birthday. They had 12 kids, and they both died on the same day, their birthdays, their 80th birthdays, the 19th of September 1680, with only 5 hours between their deaths. So weird, but not particularly cryptic. One visitor claimed they saw an elderly couple sitting in the cemetery, gazing out to sea. But when he turned back, they were gone. Later, inside the church, he spotted their faces again, not sat in the pews, but frozen in an old black and white photo. They were the faces of some of the church's bell ringers. The only problem was, they were long dead. And the church is not unique for its haunting stories. The abbey has some of its own. One legend tells of a spectral nun condemned for breaking her vows. She wanders the shattered cloisters at dusk. Witnesses say she has a faint glow, like moonlight reflecting off of stone. Others claim they can hear a distant chanting of a long dead choir. Others claim that they can see the flickering of candlelight up where the roof no longer stands. Some believe these are the echoes of prayers that were never completed after the monks were driven out. When Bram Stoker visited Whitby in 1890, He filled his notebook with descriptions of the abbey and the churchyard, and in his iconic novel Dracula, a shipwrecked beast is seen running up the 199 steps to hide amongst the gravestones of St. Mary's. And there was a very real shipwreck below these cliffs in Whitby. Whitby in these locations may now be famous for Bram Stoker's novel and the inspiration he drew from here, but it's very clear that legends existed here long before Stoker arrived. With its ruined monastery, its cliff full of the dead, it's really no wonder that Whitby ultimately became the home of the undead. Today, Whitby Abbey and St. Mary's Church still stand together, one in ruin and one very much still alive. And when you stand on these cliffs on a stormy night and you hear those echoing voices reverberating through the stone, perhaps it's St. Hilda's prayers, or perhaps the wind that howls across the cliffs is carrying something else. Perhaps it's the voices of those who never left and are just waiting for the crumbling cliffs to reveal them once again. Thanks for watching this fun, quick little video on St. Mary's Church and the Abbey at Whitby. I didn't have a lot of time to make something massive here. I just had enough time to kind of wander around, and it was more of a family trip than anything, but I thought I could make something short and sweet and still interesting out of it, so hopefully you enjoyed this. And hopefully at some point I'll be able to get back and maybe make something a bit more in-depth. So if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, leave a comment if you've been to Whitby and what your thoughts were on the place. It's really, really cool. And I'll see you in the next one.